organization. First up, we have Jameson Broggi.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for inviting me to be here. I'm very grateful. Met some of you are new faces. My name is Jameson Broggi. I'm a citizen in Morehead City. I'm not a lobbyist. I don't represent any organization. I'm an attorney barred in North Carolina. I'm a United States Marine stationed at Marine Corps Air Station Cherry Point. And I take a day off from work to be here because that's how important I think this is. We see from all the surveys today how little college graduates know about our country. One recent survey showed that 10% of college graduates think Judge Judy is on the Supreme Court. Right now, there's a gap in North Carolina's curriculum. UNC Chapel Hill requires all students to take 3 credit hours in global understanding, but there's no requirement to take a class on American government. I think we would all admit that American government's a little bit more important than global understanding. I've heard some interesting comments today that this is too much control. A 120 credit hour degree, 3 credit hours of that is 2.5% of control. UNC was created by the General Assembly. It's certainly appropriate for the UNC, for the General Assembly to have a say in what UNC requires, just like this committee did a few minutes ago when they had control over Fayetteville State University, a university that it created. This is done in high school, and darn well it should be done again in college. When you get to college, you have a deeper level, and we do have exemptions put in the bill that allows students to be exempted if they have college-level proficiency as demonstrated by an AP class, IB, or dual enrollment. Again, I wrote this legislation. I also wrote the legislation that South Carolina passed in 2021 that passed the South Carolina Senate 45-0, and the House of Representatives 91-12. I think this is very important, and I'll yield to any questions.
Chair apologizes, the microphone was off. Thank you, Mr. Broggi. Next up, we have Marilyn Broggi. Chair notes there may be a relation with the previous speaker. You're recognized if you please identify yourself. If you represent an organization, you have 2 minutes.
Good morning. I'm his wife. I'm also a Morehead City resident, and I'm finishing my PhD at the University of Georgia. And I took this course as an undergraduate student, so I want to share a little bit about that. The state law in Georgia has this requirement for their university system, and I'm extremely grateful that they did, and it had a huge impact on me and my peers. I wanted to note that the professor treated this course like it was the most important thing we could listen to all day, and at the end of each session, everyone in the room would just be inspired to be more productive citizens. And so when we moved here, I was appalled to find out that the UNC system has no such requirement. They have a really strong reputation in the research community, but the teaching is sorely lacking. There's a clear and possibly even intentional gap in the curriculum. Globalism credits are required, but nothing about the United States. How is this possible when the UNC system's mission is to apply knowledge to address the needs of the community? If any of the college lobbyists act like there's an issue with this bill, they're doing an absolute disservice to students like me. The language of this bill meticulously applies to the UNC system. We spent hours upon hours tailoring this bill, and it has been successfully implemented in other states. It has not set a precedent for legislative control over the curriculum. Instead, it's enhanced the university systems and benefited countless graduates and their local communities. Just like what the UNC mission statement says, it should already be doing it. Currently, over 345,000 students annually are leaving the UNC system with this knowledge gap. We will never know how many students could have been more active citizens, but I'm very excited at the thought of students being empowered by the freedoms we have here if this bill passes. Thank you so much for your consideration. I'm very grateful.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Bradley Jackson. And Mr. Jackson, you have 2 minutes. If you don't mind, please identify yourself and if you represent an organization.
Thank you very much. I'm Dr. Bradley Jackson. I'm with the American Council of Trustees and Alumni, better known as ACTA. ACTA was founded in 1995 to promote freedom, academic excellence, and accountability at America's colleges and universities. The REACH Act, the bill before you all today, would, in our estimation, be a significant step in a positive direction. This act, were it to be passed into law, would set a reasonable floor for civic education at North Carolina's public schools and universities, ensuring that all students receive at least introductory education in the principles of American democracy and the history of our republic, and indeed the history of your fine state. Nationally, fewer than 20% of colleges and universities require a course in American government or U.S. history. Out of the 15 public higher education institutions in North Carolina that are reviewed by ACTA's What Will They Learn project, none of them require U.S. history or U.S. government for graduation. Now, especially given the current state of American discourse, this is simply unacceptable. American higher education can, should, and must do more to educate students to be active, informed, and well-reasoned participants in public life. In a country like the United States, founded on principles of liberty, equality, and the rule of law, it is essential for citizens to understand the ideas that animate our civic life. Students should not be able to leave an American public university and be ignorant of concepts such as representative democracy, bicameralism, separation of powers, federalism, and constitutionalism. The REACH Act would require the study of certain works of American political literature, such as the Declaration of Independence, the Federalist Papers, as well as writings by Lincoln, Dr. Martin Luther King, and others. Such coursework is particularly well suited for college-level education, in which one is expected to read and analyze primary documents. Indeed, it is especially important today, for it shows students the meaning of active citizenship. Abraham Lincoln, Alexander Hamilton, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., these were citizens of ordinary, humble background, and their faith in their country inspired them to action in its name, to redeem its promise, and to brighten its future. This bill can help others to do that as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Next and finally, we have Tami Fitzgerald. If you don't mind, we know who you are, but identify yourself, and if you recognize or if you represent an organization, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Tami Fitzgerald, North Carolina Values Coalition. We stand here to support the bill. We believe that our country operates better and our society in North Carolina will operate more freely when students are taught our founding documents. In my own education, my favorite class, I still remember it to this day, 40 years later, was political ethics, where we studied the treatises of John Locke, we studied the Constitution, and it caused me to want to go on to be an attorney and go to law school. I believe that students need to have a foundation in our founding documents in order to be well educated, to be citizens of our state. And so we support this bill. We didn't bring this bill, we didn't think of the bill, but we wholeheartedly support it, and we encourage you to support it also. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes public comment.